Hey everyone, what is happening? So last class we looked at naming ionic compounds, and today we're going to be talking about naming covalent compounds and writing formulas. So we remember from last year, covalent compounds have two nonmetals. They don't need any charges. They have a prefix that tells you the number, and we have 1 which is mono, then we have 2 which is di, 3 which is tri, 4 which is tetra, 5 which is penta, 6 which is hexa, 7 which is hepta, 8 which is octa, 9 which is nona, and 10 which is deca. And you can find those on your periodic table of elements on the very back. And it looks just like that, so you can see that right there. So let's try a couple examples. We've got dinitrogen tetraoxide. So we've got a prefix there and another prefix right here. So this is going to be nitrogen, we've got 2 of them, and oxygen, we have 4 of them. So that's dinitrogen tetraoxide. Now we've got pentabromine mononitride. Well, our prefix here is penta, and our prefix here is mono. So we've got Br, 5N, and there's a 1 down there that we don't need to write down. So the prefixes tell us the number of elements present, and we're always dealing with nonmetals. So we've got P2O3, so we're going to have diphosphorus, trioxide. Next we've got Si3Cl6, so we've got trisilicone, hexachloride. And finally we've got CO. Now when we don't have a subscript with our first element, we don't need to write mono, so this is just going to be carbon monoxide. Now moving along, we're going to name some acids. So we've done ionic compounds, covalent compounds. Now we're going to name some acids. And remember, this is just a review from grade 10. So acids are compounds that have an H in front of the formula. Acids are compounds dissolved in water, so they usually have or always have an aqueous or AQ. Now there's 2 types of acids. One's with oxygen and one without oxygen. Non-oxy acids are without oxygen. They're like HCl. And so if we were going to name this using our ionic compound formula, we'd have just hydrogen chloride. But because it's an acid, we're going to shorten our hydrogen, so the hydrogen becomes hydro, and then the ide becomes an ic. So we're going to get hydrochloric acid. So let's try a couple of examples. We've got HF. So we've got HF, and this is going to be hydrogen fluoride. So we're going to drop the gen of the hydrogen. So we're going to get hydrofluoric acid. Next we've got HI. So that would be hydrogen iodide. And when it's in an aqueous solution, we're going to have hydroiodic acid. And finally we've got hydrobromic acid, so we're going from a name to a formula right now, and we've just got HBr. Moving right along. So our acids with oxygen in them are oxyacids, and we've got an example here, H2SO4. So this would be hydrogen sulfate. Now when it's in an aqueous state, it's going to be an acid, so we're going to drop the hydrogen altogether. And then if the polyatomic ion ends in 8, we're going to switch the ending to ic acid. And if the polyatomic ion ends in ite, we're going to switch the ending to an OUS acid. So for hydrogen sulfate, so we've got H2SO4. And so we're going to drop the hydrogen, and the sulfate 8 turns to ic. So we get sulfuric acid. And we've got a couple more examples down here. So this is a special one, CH3COOH. This H on this acid is put at the very back, and this is acetate. So this would be hydrogen acetate, and so we're going to drop the hydrogen, and then that 8 turns to ic, so we've got acetic acid. Next we've got HClO3, and so we look for the ClO3 and we have it as chlorate. So we drop our hydrogen and the 8 turns to ic, so we've got chloric acid. Hopefully right now you're like, oh, I remember this stuff. And then next for our last example here, we've got HClO2, and ClO2 is chlorite. And you see we've got ite there, so this is going to be chlorous acid, because we've dropped our hydrogen and we changed the ite to an OUS. Now we've done acids, now we're on to bases. Now using bases always have an OH ion, and this is hydroxide. So use the same naming rules as we did for ionic compounds the other day, and we've got MgOH2, and so we've got magnesium hydroxide. Over here we've got NaOH, and we've seen this one before, sodium hydroxide. And finally we've got barium hydroxide. So if we have barium, we've got Ba2 plus and OH minus. We're going to swap and drop and we get BaOH. Alright, we'll see you in class. Have a good rest of the day.